Latty walked slowly into the wedding venue. The drums were still beating, but not as loudly as before. One by one, heads began to turn. Conversations stopped halfway. People stared openly. Some whispered. Some just watched in silence. Latty's beauty caught everyone by surprise. Her long dark hair rested on her back, shining under the sun. Her face was calm, but her heart was beating very fast. She looked around carefully. Nobody spoke to her. Even the drummers slowed their hands as their eyes followed her movement. The dancers paused, forgetting their steps. Eber, who had been sitting quietly, raised his head and stared at her with deep admiration. He could not look away. Latty pretended she was only a guest. She smiled gently at those staring at her, though her smile hid fear and nervousness. She moved slowly through the crowd, careful with every step, careful with every breath. Inside her mind, Rona's voice echoed again and again. Do not let anyone know who you are yet. Latty held on to that warning tightly. She did not come to expose herself now. She came to see. She came to understand. Most importantly, she came to find her mother. As Latty walked deeper into the venue, she scanned every face carefully. Happy faces, laughing faces, faces full of food and celebration, but none of them were the face she was looking for. Then she saw her, sitting a little far away from the crowd, under a tree, alone. Latty's mother sat quietly, her back slightly bent, her eyes fixed on the ground. She was not smiling. She was not dancing. She looked lost, like someone whose heart was somewhere else entirely. The sight broke Latty's heart. Pain rushed into her chest so suddenly that she almost stopped walking. Mama, she thought. She remembered how her mother used to hold her hand when she was blind. How she guided her gently. How she never stopped loving her, even when the whole village looked down on her. Latty swallowed hard and walked toward her. When she reached her mother, she did not hesitate. She knelt down respectfully and greeted her. Good afternoon, Mama, she said softly. Her mother answered the greeting automatically, but her eyes did not leave Latty's face. She stared at her closely, like someone looking at a familiar dream. Something about this young woman felt known, yet strange. Her heart stirred, but she could not place why. Latty's mother tilted her head slightly and continued staring. Young lady, she said slowly, where are you from? Latty's heart skipped, but she remained calm. She remembered Rona's warning again. She bowed her head slightly. I am from the neighbouring village, she lied gently. The woman nodded, still studying her face. You look so beautiful, she said with a soft smile. And you look familiar. Latty felt her chest tighten. What is your name? Her mother asked. Latty lowered her head again. For a moment it felt heavy to lie to the woman who gave birth to her, but she knew this was not the time. She raised her head again and spoke clearly. My name is Nini, she said. Her mother repeated the name slowly. Nini, she said, smiling faintly. It is a good name. Latty smiled back, but inside her heart tears were forming. She wished she could say, Mama, it is me. But she did not. She stayed silent, just as she was told. For a moment, both of them were quiet. Then Latty spoke again. Mama, she said softly, do you have food? The woman looked surprised. Her eyes widened slightly, then she smiled warmly. She looked happy, almost proud. It was rare for a young and beautiful lady to ask her for food. Of course, she said quickly. I will get you food from the wedding venue. She began to stand up, but Latty gently stopped her. No, Mama, she said politely. I want your own food. Her mother froze, surprised by the request. She studied Latty's face again, confused but touched. Without saying anything, she stood up and walked slowly into her house. Latty followed her with her eyes. When the woman returned, she carried a small plate of food. She handed it to Latty and sat down beside her, watching her eat. Her eyes were full of admiration. "You are very polite," she said. Latty ate slowly, fighting back tears. Every bite reminded her of home. After the food, she thanked her gently. Her mother smiled again, but the sadness quickly returned to her face. Latty noticed the change immediately. "Mama," she asked carefully, "why do you not look happy?" The woman sighed deeply. Her shoulders dropped. "I had a daughter," she began slowly. "She was blind. People mocked her, but she was my joy." Her voice trembled. "One day, she disappeared. I searched everywhere. I searched the village. I searched the river. Till today, nobody knows where she is." Tears filled her eyes. Latty felt like her heart would burst. She clenched her hands tightly. Her mother continued, "Even today, on a day like this, my heart is not here." Latty took a deep breath. "Mama," she said gently, "did you know that the gold seller Iba was supposed to marry your daughter, even while she was blind?" Her mother looked up sharply. "What?" she asked, shocked. "I never heard of that." Latty nodded slowly. "After the ceremony," she said calmly, "ask your husband what really happened to your daughter." The words fell heavy between them. Latty stood up slowly. Her mother stared at her, her heart racing. "Who are you?" she whispered, but Latty did not answer. Latty turned and began to walk away, disappearing back into the crowd. Her mother continued staring at her back, unable to move, unable to speak. Something inside her was screaming, but she did not yet understand what it was saying. Around them, the wedding celebration continued, but the joy felt thinner now. Iba stood from afar, watching Latty walk away, his heart uneasy. Toro laughed loudly among her friends, unaware of what had just been planted. Latty blended back into the crowd, her face calm, her heart heavy, her mission only beginning. She had spoken to her mother. The truth had been stirred, but the most dangerous part was yet to come. Latty walked away from the wedding venue slowly. The sound of drums faded behind her, but the pain in her chest only grew louder. She did not know where she was going. Her feet just carried her forward without direction. When she reached the edge of the village, near the bush, she stopped. The strength she had been holding on to finally left her. She sank down and cried. She covered her mouth so no one would hear her, but her body shook with pain. Tears ran freely down her face. She had seen her mother. She had spoken to her, but she could not say the truth. That truth sat heavy inside her, like a burning stone. She hugged herself tightly, feeling alone again. Not far away, back at the wedding venue, her mother could not stop looking toward the direction Latty had gone. Even while people laughed and talked around her, her mind was far away. The words the young woman had spoken kept repeating in her head. "Ask your husband what really happened to your daughter." Her heart began to beat faster. Something did not feel right anymore. The celebration continued, but for her, the day had already turned dark. When the wedding finally ended and the guests slowly left, Iba and Toro were taken away to his house with singing and cheers. Latty's mother watched them go with empty eyes. As soon as the compound became quiet, she stood up and went inside the house. Her heart would not rest. She walked straight to her husband and called his name. "Come here," she said firmly. He turned to her, already annoyed. "What is it again?" he asked. She looked him straight in the eyes. "Tell me," she said slowly, "what really happened to Latty?" His face hardened immediately. "How many times will I tell you?" he snapped. "I did not see her. I don't know where she went." Her voice trembled. "A young woman told me something today," she said. "She said Eba was supposed to marry Latty, even when she was blind." His eyes flickered for a second. Just 1 second. But it was enough. "You are imagining things," he said sharply. "You are listening to strangers." She stepped closer. "Then swear to me," she said. "Swear you know nothing." He turned away angrily. "I'm tired of this," he said, and walked out of the room, leaving her standing there with more questions than answers. Night slowly fell over the village. The moon came out, quiet and watchful. Somewhere near the river, Latty sat alone on a flat stone. The water flowed gently, reflecting the moonlight. She hugged her knees to her chest. She did not know where to sleep. She did not know where she belonged anymore. She thought of Rona. She thought of the mermaid kingdom. She thought of her mother, sitting alone, confused and hurt. Tears filled her eyes again. "I cannot sleep in the bush," she whispered to herself. "Mama must not be alone tonight." Slowly she stood up and began to walk back toward her mother's house. Her heart pounded with every step. When she reached the compound and stepped inside, her mother saw her immediately. Her face lit up with joy. "My beautiful friend," she said warmly, standing up. "You came back." Latty nodded, tears already running down her face. She could not speak yet. The woman rushed to her and held her shoulders gently. "What is wrong?" she asked. "Did anybody say something to you? Did anybody hurt you?" Latty shook her head slowly. Then she reached for her mother's hand. Without saying a word, Latty pulled her gently into the house. She led her straight into the room and closed the door. She locked it carefully. Her hands were shaking now. Unknown to both of them, someone else was watching. Latty's father had seen the stranger enter the compound. Something about the woman's movement caught his attention. His heart began to beat fast. Quietly he followed. He tiptoed toward the room and stood close to the door, listening. Inside the room, Latty helped her mother sit on the bed. Her mother looked confused and worried. "What is going on?" she asked softly. Latty stood in front of her, breathing deeply. "Mama," she said, her voice trembling, "what I am about to tell you will shock you." Her mother's eyes widened. "Please," Latty continued, "listen to me till the end." Outside the door, her father leaned closer, his ear pressed against the wood, his heart racing. Latty took a deep breath and began. "That day," she said slowly, "my father took me to the bridge." Her mother froze. "He told me to come to him," Latty continued. "I was scared. I told him I was scared, but he told me to keep coming." Her mother's hands began to shake. "I did not know the bridge was broken in the middle," Latty said. "When I reached there, I fell into the river." Her mother gasped loudly and covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. "I was drowning," Latty continued, "but a mermaid saved me." Her mother's eyes widened in fear and disbelief. "The mermaid healed me," Latty said softly. "She gave me my sight. She changed my look so I could return safely." She looked straight into her mother's eyes. "Mama, it is me, Latty." Her mother screamed softly and grabbed her. Outside the door, Latty's father staggered back. He covered his mouth with both hands. His face turned pale. Fear filled his eyes. He had heard everything, every word. Slowly, Quietly, he turned and tiptoed away from the door, his legs shaking beneath him. Inside the room, Latty's mother held her tightly, crying like she had never cried before. She touched her face again and again, as if to be sure she was real. "My child," she whispered. "My child!" Latty cried into her arms, releasing years of pain. Outside, the night felt colder. Latty's father walked away into the darkness, his mind racing. Fear now followed him like a shadow. He knew the truth had returned to the village. He knew the river had not kept his secret. Back inside the room, Latty wiped her tears slowly. She looked at her mother and spoke softly. "Mama," she said, "this is not over yet." Her mother looked at her, afraid and confused. Somewhere far away, the river flowed quietly, as if listening, and somewhere deep within it, the mermaid waited. That night, Latty's father could not sleep. Sleep ran far away from him like a frightened child. He paced his room again and again, his hands locked behind his back. His heart beat loudly in his ears. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the bridge. He saw the river. He heard Latty's voice calling, "Papa." Fear wrapped itself around him tightly. He remembered every word Latty had said to her mother. He knew his secret was no longer hidden. Before the sun rose, he made a decision. He could not stay in that house. He could not stay in the village pretending nothing happened. As the first light of morning appeared, he ran. He ran out of his compound like a man being chased by fire. People who saw him were confused. They whispered and pointed. He did not stop. He ran straight to the king's palace. When he reached there, he fell to the ground before the guards. His body shook. "Take me to the king," he cried. "I have done evil." He was brought before the king, where he confessed everything. He spoke about the bridge. He spoke about the river. He spoke about pushing his own daughter to her death. The palace went silent. The king's face grew dark with anger. The guards were ordered to bring him back to the village. When the guards brought Latty's father back, the whole village gathered. Nobody spoke. Fear and shock sat on every face. In front of everyone, he fell on his knees before his wife and before Latty. He cried like a child. "Forgive me," he begged, again and again. "I was blinded by pride. I was wicked. I was foolish." His wife stood still, tears rolling down her face, but her heart was firm. Latty stood beside her mother, calm and strong. She did not speak. The king's guard announced the king's judgment loudly so all could hear. "A man who can harm his own child is not fit to live among us." The village elders nodded. It was decided. Latty's father was banished from the village. He was told never to return. He was led away immediately, crying and begging, but nobody followed him. The village watched him leave in silence. For the first time, the truth was clear to everyone. Justice had spoken. After everything settled, Latty walked quietly to the river. The water was calm, just as it had always been. She stood at the edge and called softly, "Rona." The river stirred. She called again, "Rona." Then the third time, louder, "Rona." The water moved gently, and Rona appeared. Latty thanked her with tears in her eyes. As promised, Rona touched her gently, and Latty's identity returned to normal. Her beauty softened into her true self, now with sight restored. People who were nearby gasped in shock. Whispers spread quickly through the village. It was her, Latty. She is alive. At the same time, Eber heard the news and ran from his house. He fell at Latty's feet and begged. "I don't know what came over me," he said. "Please marry me." Latty looked at him calmly and shook her head. "No," she said simply. "You chose comfort over truth." Eber bowed his head in shame. He returned Toro to her father's house and announced he would not marry her. Toro and her mother became a laughing matter in the village. People mocked them openly. The pride they once had disappeared. Shame followed them everywhere they went. Time passed. Years went by. Latty lived quietly with her mother, caring for her and loving her deeply. The village slowly healed from the shock of the past. One day, sad news spread across the land. The king had died. The prince was to be crowned king, but before the coronation, tradition demanded that he choose a wife. The entire kingdom waited. Many beautiful and powerful women were presented to him, but the prince refused them all. Then one day, during a village gathering, his eyes fell on Latty. He watched her kindness, he saw her strength, he heard her story. His heart chose her immediately. Before the elders and the people, the prince announced his choice. Gasps filled the air. Latty was chosen as the queen, the woman once called useless, the blind girl once rejected. She became the queen of the land. Her mother cried tears of joy as she watched her daughter rise. As queen, Latty ruled with wisdom and kindness. She never forgot her past. She brought her father back from exile, not to honour him, but to show mercy. She gave him a place to stay far from the palace. She never spoke to him again, but she allowed him to live, teaching him the pain of silent regret. Toro and her mother begged for forgiveness many times, wishing to have a relationship with Latty. But Latty refused, not out of hatred, but out of wisdom. She chose peace. She focused on her mother, honouring her always. The village learned a powerful lesson through her life. The girl they once pitied became their queen. The river that was meant to hide evil revealed truth instead. And love, pure and patient, triumphed over cruelty. This story teaches us a deep lesson. Never judge anyone by their weakness, because what you despise today may rise above you tomorrow. Kindness, patience, and truth always win in the end. And evil, no matter how hidden, will always be exposed. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel for more beautiful, emotional, and powerful stories like this. There are many more waiting for you. Thank you for watching. And remember, every story has a lesson.